From Washington, this is VOA News. Hello, I'm Steve Miller. The G20 summit of the world's richest economies wrapped up Saturday against a backdrop of angry protests. Luis Ramirez reports from Hamburg.
More protests rocked the German port city of Hamburg Saturday as the G20 wound down. President Trump was on center stage talking about a new trade deal with Britain's prime minister and taking up the thorny issues of trade in North Korea with China's leader. Trump's America First policy and Brexit presented a challenge for supporters of globalization at the summit. With so much discord on matters of trade and climate, host Angela Merkel said talks were difficult. Luis Ramirez, VOA News, Hamburg.
Iraqi security forces say they expect to declare victory in Mosul, which would bring an end to the Iraqi half of the Islamic State caliphate. VOA's Tommie McNeil.
Iraqi forces are using coalition airstrikes and ground support for the offensive to take back Mosul. Months of fighting has devastated much of the old city, including the landmark 850-year-old Gran al-Nuri Mosque and its leaning 45-meter minaret that jihadists recently blew up.
The United Nations has predicted it will cost more than $1 billion to repair Mosul's basic infrastructure. Opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez was released from prison and placed under house arrest Saturday in Venezuela after more than 3 years in military lockup, a shock reversal that fueled hopes for broader amnesty for dozens of jailed activists as the country slides ever deeper into political turmoil. Venezuela's government-stacked Supreme Court said in a statement that it had granted Lopez the humanitarian measures for health reasons and serious signs of irregularities in the handling of the case that it did not specify. This is VOA News. Ukraine was among the issues raised when U.S. President Donald Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin Friday. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson will be taking the issue next to Ukraine's capital and a meeting with the country's president. Steve Reddish reports.
After sitting in on the much-anticipated meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson heads to Kiev to demonstrate U.S. support for Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko. Joining Tillerson on the trip, Kurt Volker, the new point person in negotiations to end the Ukraine conflict under the Minsk Agreement. In an interview with VOA on June 29th, Volker laid out his vision for Ukraine.
We need to have a Ukraine that is sustainable, resilient, prosperous, strong democracy, so that it'll be attractive to the regions in the East and where disinformation and propaganda attacks don't really have much traction.
I'm Steve Reddish, VOA News, Washington.
The Chinese hospital treating ailing Nobel Peace Laureate Liu Xiaobo said 2 physicians from Western nations visited Liu and approved of the treatment he was receiving. VOA's Tom Turco.
The 61-year-old Liu was sentenced to 11 years in prison in 2009 for his long and nonviolent struggle for fundamental human rights in China, before being transferred to a hospital in the northeastern city of Shenyang for treatment of terminal liver cancer. #1 teaching hospital of the China Medical Sciences University said it invited the doctors, one from the U.S. and the other from Germany, to help with Liu's treatment. The hospital identified the doctors as Joseph Herman of the M.D. Anderson Cancer Center in the U.S. and Marcus Buckler of Germany's University of Heidelberg.
Liu was jailed following a conviction of inciting subversion of state power after he helped write a petition known as Charter 8 that called for a democratic reform in China. Al-Shabaab extremists from Somalia beheaded 9 civilians in an attack on a village in Kenya's southeast early Saturday. The Saturday attack occurred where Al-Shabaab fighters engaged security agencies in a day-long battle 3 days ago. A police report said about 15 al-Shabaab fighters attacked Jima village and seized men, killing them with knives. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is defending his government's apology and multi-million-dollar payment to a former Guantanamo Bay prisoner who pleaded guilty for killing a U.S. soldier in Afghanistan. The deal between the government and Omar Khadr's lawyer is based on a 2010 Supreme Court of Canada ruling that Canadian officials violated his rights in Guantanamo. For further updates and in-depth coverage, visit voanews.com. From Washington, I'm Steve Miller.
That's the latest world news from VOA.